Hi, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Erica. Thank you so much for clicking on my video. I would love to have you subscribe, like, comment, and if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. So in today's video, I have a special guest. Of course. This is my daughter, Sydney.
Hi, nice to meet you.
We thought it would be really fun to sit down and film a video showing our Holy Grail makeup products, and also I'm going to ask Sydney some questions about her diagnosis as a type 1 diabetic. She got diagnosed a little over a year ago and was showing signs and symptoms for, what, about six months? And so we thought it was really important just to sit down and talk about her story, kind of shed some awareness and some education on the disease. We had absolutely no clue what was going on, and we just kind of thought that maybe there were other people out in the world possibly watching this video that have gone through a similar situation, and just really wanted to encourage you or your loved one, family member, friend, whoever, to seek medical attention if you're exhibiting any of these signs and symptoms. So if you're interested to see what our Holy Grail makeup products are and also hear about Sydney's type 1 diabetic story, please sit back, relax, and
Let's get started.
So our very first makeup product that we're going to be talking about, our Holy Grail, is brow products. And since Sydney's the guest, I'm going to let her go first.
All right, so what I like to use is the Makeup Revolution Soap Styler to tame my eyebrows, since I have really bushy, thick eyebrows, much like you.
Like me.
And then I followed up with the Brow Benefit pomade, and it comes with this tiny little brush, and then I just dip it in and get to work.
All right, sweet. For my Holy Grail brow product, I've talked about this, I think, in every single video I've done so far. This is the Item Makeup Brow Chow Ultra Fine Defining Brow Pencil.
Mouthful.
Yeah, in the shade Warm Blonde, and it's just got this little kind of pencil edge on this end, and I need to get a new one because it's almost gone. And then I just kind of fill my brows in with that, and then it's got this little flat kind of brush that I use to kind of just put it all the way through my brows and have it look more even. And then also I use the Milk Makeup Cush Brow Gel in Clear. This just kind of helps keep our huge, big, bushy, doing, doing, doing eyebrows in place. So that's our brow product. And now for the very first question. What is type 1 diabetes?
So type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disorder. This is not going to be very scientific, where cells in your body start attacking the insulin producing cells on your pancreas and kill them off, and then your body cannot produce enough insulin to break down all the sugars in your blood. And so basically, if left untreated, you have these shards of sugar just floating around in your blood that's kind of damaging everything, and it's wonderful. And
wonderful.
and it makes you really, really sick, and it is not fun
At all.
no.
Oh, geez. Okay, so the next Holy Grail makeup product is going to be our face primer. So go ahead.
Perfect.
Hit it.
Recently I've started using the NYX Marshmallow Primer. It smells heavenly, and it works really, really well. It's a smoothing primer, so it just kind of goes on, and then it leaves everything feeling very nice and smooth after I put everything else on top of it.
Which cracks me up, because how would you know what it's like to not have smooth skin? You're
Acne.
22. Anyway.
Acne.
All right, and then my Holy Grail primers are the Makeup Revolution Mattify Matte and Fix Primer. I use this primer when I'm going to be using like a more dewy foundation. It just kind of helps tone down my oils because I get pretty oily in my T-zone, and I just love this stuff. It's not very expensive, and it's perfect for me. And then I also use this Touch and Soul Glassy, it's kind of a moisturizing primer, and I use this if I'm going to be using like a more I don't know, matte foundation, because this kind of helps kind of make it look more skin-like. So yeah, I love this stuff. All right, you ready for the second question?
Yes.
Okay. What did you first notice, or when did you first notice symptoms? What were they, and for how long did you have them?
I had symptoms for 6 months, so I started showing them in November, end of October of 2019, and then
No,
was
2020. No, 2019.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then I was diagnosed in May of 2020. And so my first symptoms were I became obsessed with water. I remember just chugging cupfuls of water all day, and then one night in bed, I looked at my fiance Chase and I said, "I'm obsessed with water. It's all I can think about," and then went to sleep. And then I started losing a ton of weight. I dropped about 50 pounds in that 6 months, so that was pretty terrifying. And at first I was like, oh, it's all the water I'm drinking, because that's what you always hear, is that if you want to lose weight, you just drink a lot of water. And I kept getting really, really sick after I ate anything. Whenever I would shower, I would dry heave, and it was terrifying and terrible. And then towards the, like, right before I was diagnosed, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bringing back some bad memories.
But look at me now.
Yes, you're great. You're wonderful.
And so the last couple weeks, I started noticing that I was getting really out of breath. Like, if I was talking like this, I'd have to stop and just pant. And then my fiance and I went camping with his mom, and I couldn't breathe there. And I was looking at him saying, I can't breathe. And he said, oh, it's just the altitude difference. Like, you're okay. And I was like, well, you can breathe. And then I was constantly fatigued. I was sleeping for 6 hours throughout the day. I couldn't go to work because I was feeling so terrible and throwing up all the time, and didn't have the energy to do anything. And then the day that Chase, my fiance, took me to urgent care, we were on our way back from camping, and I walked up the stairs, could barely walk up them, and then I collapsed in the shower, and he was like, I'm done, we're going.
And that's when I got the phone call. So I knew obviously what was going on with her to some extent. I mean, she wasn't living here. She was going to college and living about 3 hours south of me. But I vividly remember her coming home right after COVID hit. It was March of 2020, and I hadn't seen her since December. And I remember she and her fiance walking through the front door, and I absolutely lost my shit. She was so emaciated, and my initial thought, of course, was she had an eating disorder. So of course I kind of kept it together for a couple of minutes, and then I was like, what is going on? Do you have an eating disorder? We need to get you help right away. And she's like, no, Mom, I do not have an eating disorder. Relax. She just basically said, she was drinking a ton of water, and I don't know.
Portions
exactly. Like, we were both at that time kind of trying to change our diets up. And my husband said, you have to calm down. Like, her metabolism is that of a 20-year-old. Ours, we're like, snail metabolism. So, she can adjust her diet and lose weight quickly, where we can't do that anymore. Don't you remember that? And I was like, yeah, I guess. But I mean, her weight loss was very significant. And then the time that she had just gotten back from camping, when she finally went to the hospital, she called me just sobbing hysterically. And I just said, go to the hospital or the urgent care or whatever immediately. And I'd been trying to get her to go to the doctor, but I didn't know how intense some of her symptoms were. I mean, I knew to some extent, but I wasn't living with her, so I didn't see it daily.
I didn't want to scare her, of course, and be like, I'm really, really sick, because I was also in denial about all of it. I knew that something was wrong, and I didn't want there to be. So I was kind of downplaying some of my symptoms and how frequent they were happening to her, so that she didn't just hop in her car and come down and drag me to urgent care.
Because I would have.
Yes.
All right, so do you want to go on to the next makeup product?
Yes.
Okay, let's do foundation. So our next Holy Grail makeup product will be our foundation. So go ahead.
Perfect. I brought two with me today. My absolute favorite ever is Born This Way from Too Faced. But this is my summer shade. I'm obviously not there yet, so it's a little too dark. So right now I am using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-hour Fresh Wear, and it is fantastic. It really does last a really long time. I also have oily skin, and I sweat a ton, and it stays on even with minimal setting, or even if I forget my setting spray too. So it is fantastic. I suggest you give it a try.
And I have one. I haven't used it yet. What shade is that?
This is shade 410.
Ooh, very nice. Okay, and then I have a couple foundations. The first one is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation. This is in the shade, I think it's like Y225, yes. And I love this stuff. I got this from Ipsy, and it's just really a nice natural coverage. I don't usually use like super full coverage foundations because it's just not the most attractive look on me, because I have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, but this is perfect. And then I also, for a even lighter coverage, I use the Maybelline BB cream, and I love this stuff. I've been using this stuff for, gosh, probably 2 or 3 years, and it's just a very light coverage, but it kind of just evens your skin tone out and just makes it look a lot more polished, and not the most high coverage in the world. Of course, it's a BB cream, but yeah, I really love this stuff. Okay, oh, and I use the shade medium and light medium and mix them together. Okay, the next question. Well, we kind of talked about that already. Were you surprised to find out that you were diabetic, and what was your reaction to your diagnosis?
I was not surprised in the slightest. I had looked up all of my symptoms previously, and every single one said type 1 diabetes. And like I said a little bit ago, I was in full denial and I didn't really want anything to be wrong. So when I went in and they took a urine sample, they walked in, my nurse's face was just white, and he handed it to the doctor, and she looks at it, looks at me, and goes, "You're a type 1 diabetic." And I went, "Okay." And then the nurse came back in, took my blood sugar, and it was 385. And so non-diabetic people should stay between 80 and upwards of 120, and 120 is like after you have a lot of food. I was 385.
Jeez.
And they took me into another room, got some fluids pumping into me through an IV, and then they took me right across the street by ambulance to the hospital, and where I was placed into the ICU for 4 days, and then 1 day in a lower level place where I could kind of freely walk around, and then I went home the next day.
And I couldn't be with her because it was COVID, of course, but her fiance was able to be there with her, which was nice. So he and I kept in constant contact. I was texting her a lot, so I knew what was going on. And I honestly was totally blown away that she was diabetic. And the weird thing is about a week before this, I just happened to be, my office was still closed down, but I was going into work periodically, and my boss was there, and he's a dentist, so obviously he's got a lot of medical training, and I was telling him Sydney's symptoms, and he said, "Well, do you think she's diabetic?" And I was like, "No." Like, I was always under the impression that type 1 diabetes struck in like early childhood, and I felt like she was too old, and also we don't have anybody that we know of in our family that has it. But to find out that she was diabetic and then remember that conversation that I'd had with him, I felt like a real jackass that I didn't like really push her to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So,
and also there's a lot of misconceptions about diabetes as a whole, because most people think of diabetes as type 2 diabetes, and that's a lot more towards lifestyle choices, and type 1 diabetes is, it just kind of happens. Your body starts attacking your pancreas, and then you can't produce insulin anymore. And so I was always under the impression of, well, I eat fine, I exercise regularly, I'm a healthy 21-year-old at the time girl, so I shouldn't have diabetes. And that's just not the case. It just kind of happens. And all my nurses and doctors, they were saying that I was the oldest, newly diagnosed type 1 diabetic that they had ever seen, but they're noticing a lot more people recently being diagnosed in later years, which is really interesting.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah, that is.
yeah.
Huh. All right, let's move on to our next makeup product, our next holy grail. What should we do? Do you want to do you have highlight?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we're going to talk about our favorite holy grail highlighter.
Okay, so I brought the Juvia's Place gold loose highlighter. I couldn't think of the word. It is fantastic. It is very, very shimmery. You can't see any of it, but, but it is perfect. It's gorgeous. It goes on really light. Some highlighters that I've used before just kind of pack on and they're a little bit too much, and then there's this really harsh line. This I can very subtly kind of melt into my skin, and so I think it looks really nice. And I like the gold because I wear gold jewelry, and I think it looks really pretty in the sun.
Is that what you're wearing right now?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. My favorite Holy Grail highlight is this. This is the Perfusion 1 Luminizer 1 palette. This sucker is old. It looks very beat up. It's got 5 different shades here. My favorites are this one here. It's called Impulse, and then this one here is Fairy Lights. It's kind of got this white pinky shift. And I've worn this one, I believe, in a video. And actually, I think I wore this one too, Lightning. I don't know that I've worn that yet in the video. But yeah, I love this palette. I got this, I think, at TJ Maxx for like $2 or $3. And it's been through the war, and it still works just beautifully. All right, next question. You ready? Okay. Let's see. When did you start feeling better after you went to the hospital?
Honestly, maybe 2 days later. Because I had insulin. Another symptom that I had was just horrific heartburn. And it was literally because my blood was acidic. So when I was diagnosed, I was also diagnosed with diabetic ketoacidosis. And that's basically when your organs and your body are just so starved because there was just way too much sugar in my body, and so my body was taking its nutrients and energy from my organs, and so it was kind of, if I didn't go in, they would have most likely shut down my organs.
She would have been in a coma.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Yeah.
And so I had horrific heartburn, and I was still kind of having it, and so I said, I'm still kind of having heartburn, to one of my nurses, and she said, okay, honey, I'll get you a Tums. And I was like, that's not going to work, because I was taking like just tons of medication, over-the-counter medication, to get rid of my heartburn, and it just wasn't happening. And so the Tums, 20 minutes later, no heartburn. I have not had it since.
Wow.
And so right when my heartburn went away was when I was finally like, oh, I feel so good. And then I could actually eat and enjoy my food, because previously when I would eat, I would have 3 bites and then be rushing to the bathroom thinking I was going to throw up. I usually didn't unless I was out of a shower, and the hot water does impact my blood sugars and everything, so when I'm really, really high, it just kind of makes it worse. When my sugars are really, really high, it makes it worse.
When I'm really, really high.
Sorry.
Oops.
Type 1 diabetic.
You're sitting by your mother.
Yeah, so I could eat all my food, and since I had insulin to kind of break down those carbs and sugars in my food, I was feeling great, and that food was still the best food that I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh, okay. So our next Holy Grail product, do you have blush?
Yes.
We're gonna do blush.
All right. So right now, my absolute favorite is the ColourPop blush sticks. It's a cream stick blush, and it is just wonderful. I put it on before I put my setting powder on, or else it gets kind of a little clumpy over my powder. And so I put it on, I tap it in with a beauty blender, because brushes and me don't really mix on my face.
Me neither.
Yeah, like mother, like daughter. And I love it. It gives me a nice, really natural glow, and it makes me look really dewy, and it's just fantastic.
What shade?
Oh, sorry. Cool It.
Ooh, Cool It. You used to say that to your brother all the time.
Cool It.
Cool It.
I still do.
I know. All right, and then my Holy Grail blush is Milani Baked Powder Blush in the shade Rose d'Oro. I finally got the dome off of the blush. I've had this for probably, gosh, 1.5 to 2 years. Still works really nicely. These blushes are incredible. They have like this really cool, like kind of shimmer to them. So when you put them on, it just kind of gives this nice kind of lit from within look. And I love this shade. There's several of these, and yeah, I will probably have this for the next 2 or 3 years, because it just takes forever to go through this product, forever. So the next question is, how was your experience learning to care for yourself now, as far as like insulin and your sugars? And so how was that process for you?
In the hospital, I had just an angel of a woman who was the diabetes educator at the hospital. And so she would come in every single day to kind of answer questions and give me advice and teach me everything, and gave me a bunch of packets and websites to look at and everything. And so at first it was a little, that's when it kind of hit me, and that was when the roller coaster of emotions kind of started, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do this is horrible. And you have to, I use insulin pens instead of a pump, because the pump kind of freaks me out right now. So I use pens, and so every single time I eat, I have to stick myself. And then if my blood sugar gets too high, I need correction insulin, then I have to stick myself. And then at night, I have my long-lasting insulin, and I have to stick myself again. So it's generally around 5 pokes a day, and the needles are very, very tiny. It really doesn't hurt. There's sometimes that it kind of smarts a little bit. My insulin to carb ratio changes. So right now I'm doing 1 unit of insulin to every 9 grams of carbs that I eat. And that changes depending on kind of what I'm doing in the day. If I'm exercising a lot, I don't need that much insulin the next day, because a lot of things mess with your blood sugars, like heat and cold, and exactly what kind of food you eat, such as, is it fatty, is it simple sugars, is it complex carbohydrates, and then alcohol changes it too, and everything like that. So it's a lot to deal with, and it's a lot of different stuff, and you just kind of go through it, and you test things and see what works and what doesn't work. And so now I'm at the point where I can kind of eat more that I'd like a normal 22-year-old, like cookies and ice cream and everything.
Twinkies.
Yes, and know how to dose myself for it, and how to kind of deal with those highs and lows and everything. So
yeah, and I think something that was hard for me as a mom watching your child go through this was just the, you know, severe change in her life, because, you know, when you don't have diabetes, you just eat whatever the hell you want, whenever the hell you want. And this was completely different. Now she had to really be conscious of what she was putting in her body and then dose her insulin depending on how that was. And so it was like this just big stumbling block that she had to deal with. And the one thing that I can say is that she has handled this so remarkably well. I mean, she has gone through moments where she just kind of breaks down and she'll cry to me and we talk, but I would say that she's been so responsible and so dedicated to her health and has done a lot of research and knows a lot. And so it's very reassuring and comforting to me having her as my daughter, because she's just so good at taking care of herself. And I think if she wasn't, that would be so hard. And I know it's been hard for her. I know this whole experience has been really tough, and it's just been a huge shift and change in her life, but she's handled it remarkably well. And I'm very proud of you.
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the next Holy Grail makeup product, what else do you have? We're gonna do our mascara, our Holy Grail mascaras.
Perfect. So my Holy Grail is the Essence Lash Princess that I'm sure you've seen on every single YouTube video, including my mother's.
Woohoo! Twinning! Yeah.
It is amazing. I love it. It's what, $4 or $5
like
at
that.
Ulta. It is fantastic. And I use the false lash effect mascara, and then I also like the volume mascara. It's a pink accents on it. So.
Nice. Yeah, and I have the same one. So isn't that crazy? Ding. Bonk. Okay, cheers. Okay, so the next question is, how did other people react to your diagnosis?
I know you were kind of like, what? And I remember being in urgent care, and the doctor had just told me, so I, of course, was like, she left the room, and I was like, Mom, I have diabetes. And you were calling me, and I was like, I can't talk. Like, they're still in here. I need an IV. I need to go to the hospital, everything.
Right.
Chase was also kind of in denial too, because he also knew that something was obviously very wrong, because he was with me every single day. And he is a very sturdy person, and he is just the best thing ever, basically. And so he was definitely very supportive through everything, and only showed me a little bit that he was very shaken by it. And
he's good in a crisis.
Yes, he is. We'll say that. But my friends and his family members were all just kind of like, what? And then they're all like, I knew something was wrong because you were not looking great. I weighed 109 pounds when I went into the ICU, and that's not what my frame looks good with. I'm a pretty relatively curvy person. I take after my mother. But so it just did not look good on me. So, and then especially too, after I got out and I was gaining weight back and everything, everyone was just thrilled. Everyone was very supportive. That's the number one thing that you need if you are diagnosed, especially unexpectedly. You need a good support system.
Definitely.
I would not be taking as good of care of myself if I didn't have so many people looking out for me and rooting for me.
That's true.
So.
And the really cool thing too is that she has this Dexcom app, isn't that what the app's called, on her phone that is hooked to the...
I have a transmitter on my stomach right here. It comes in the scariest 19th century torture device looking thing. It's this big, it looks kind of like a cashier's scanner, and then it's the sticky thing, and then you stick it on, and then you break off the safety seal and push in the needle, and then it goes shoop, and it sticks in a little cannula? I can't talk.
I can't talk.
That stays under my skin, and it takes my blood, it reads my blood sugar every 5 minutes, and then it's an app on my phone, and then she can also follow it on her phone, and so it's the best. Whenever I have a low, she always texts me and says, are you okay, honey? And I go, yep, I'm drinking a juice, or it's not really that low. Like this morning, it was saying that I was 49, which is very, very low, when I was 76, which is perfect, so.
Because there's always a concern that if she goes too low, you know, she can lose consciousness. So I always want to make sure that she responds to me. I'm not as militant and like hysterical as I used to be when she first got it. I mean, she'd get it like 3 a.m. and I'd be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Well, she'd go back to sleep, and I'm like, "Oh, she's dead on the floor somewhere, and nobody knows." But no, she's fine. But you know, it's really nice to have that because then, like she said, I'm aware of her highs and lows, and just kind of, you know, keeps track of her, whatever.
Yeah.
Track. Okay.
Keeps
All
me in
right.
shape.
So should we go on to our next makeup
Yes.
product? Okay. What should we do? What do you have? You want
I'm going to talk
eyeliners?
about my concealer.
Oh, concealer. Concealer. Yes.
I just want to talk about it because this is the best thing that I've ever used. It's the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Fix in Light Beige. I've heard that it is a dupe for the NARS Pot Concealer. It is just fantastic. I use it to shape up my brows. I use it underneath my foundation to kind of conceal any acne spots that I have. It is just astounding. I love this concealer.
Wonderful. Okay, and then for my concealer, I have I'm sure this is going to be no surprise to anybody. This is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind in the shade Ivory. I love this. It's really nice for summer, but I use it pretty much all year round because it's very lightweight and it just kind of melts into your skin very nicely. You can use it with any foundation. I've never had this like ball up or not interact well with the foundation that I've used it with, so highly recommend these. And they're really not that expensive. You can get them at any drugstore, Ulta, Amazon, wherever.
And none of the stuff that we're showing is expensive. They're all drugstore products.
No, we are bargain shoppers, baby. Bargain shoppers. Okay, so the next question is, what is the hardest thing about living with diabetes?
Everything. It is not fun because, as I've said earlier, just every single thing affects my blood sugars, even just sitting here. If I don't eat in the mornings, then I will just naturally kind of my blood sugars will just creep up, and that doesn't make any sense to me, but it happens. It's like, and then sticking yourself umpteen times a day is kind of difficult, and just the hardest thing that I have is on my hard days, understanding that I have to live with this forever, because type 1 diabetes is the one that you don't get rid of. You will always have to be insulin dependent. Type 2, though, you can change, and you don't even need insulin. Sometimes when you have type 2, you can just take the oral medication, metformin. And so on my hard days, it's really difficult for me to understand, like, I'm gonna have to deal with this forever. But you gotta do what you gotta do, and for the most part, I have good days, and I take really good care of myself, and so my sugars are better to control.
Right. Yeah, and she does a great job doing that, so very proud of her. Okay, makeup. Okay, what's your next Holy Grail makeup product that we can talk about? So our next Holy Grail makeup product is
eyeliner.
Okay, go for it.
So I use the NYX Vinyl Liquid Liner. It's a matte liner. It works really, really well. It has a really small brush, so it's really easy to control where it goes. I can't use stick eyeliners because I end up looking like a raccoon, and it's fine. So this, I can get really nice sharp lines. The only downfall with it is that it kind of crumbles a little bit. It's not for extended wear. For a few hours, it's completely fine, but I still really, really like it. I haven't found another eyeliner that's affordable in drugstore that I like more, so I do recommend the NYX Vinyl Liquid Liner.
Nice. Okay, and then my Holy Grail liquid liner, if I can find it in this list, is the Ciate Fierce Flicks eyeliner in black. I've used this a few times in my videos and my looks, and this is just a really nice felt tip liquid liner. A lot of times when I'm using these types of liners, you get one eye done and it's great, and then you go to the next eye and it's totally dried up and you can't use it. And I'm like, ugh. But this one does not do that. So I highly recommend the Ciate Fierce Ciate Fierce Flicks liquid liner in the shade black. All right. Next question. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's see. What advice do you have for newly diagnosed diabetics?
Take it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
It is a very significant life change. Everything's flipped upside down. And at first, I really mourned the loss of the normal life that I should have been living. And that's the best way that I can put it, but it's okay. And you adapt and you learn how to live with it, and it's completely fine. And you're gonna have your bad days, and you're gonna have really, really good days where you're like, maybe I don't have diabetes anymore. And just take it easy on yourself. You're doing your best, you're trying your hardest, or at least I hope you are, and have a really good support system. There is an app called Beyond Type 1 that I first used, or that I used when I was first diagnosed, to kind of connect with other people, because I didn't know anyone in my immediate circle that was a type 1 diabetic, and so I felt really alone and scared, and so I went on that app and talked to a bunch of people and asked a bunch of questions, and it was amazing. And it's a really, really, really nice community, so I highly suggest you just find people like you and you have a really good support system, whether it's family or friends or coworkers.
And I also was on that Beyond Type 1 site too, because it's not just for diabetic,
No.
it's actually for like friends and family members of diabetics as well. And I connected with some really helpful, kind, caring people that really kind of helped me get over that. Because I had a lot, I still do, a lot of guilt and kind of like shame that I didn't push her harder to go see a doctor, and that I was so like ignorant to what was going on. I mean, it's my child.
That's not
hello. I just would never ever want either one of my kids to ever have any kind of medical problems and just turn a blind eye to it. So it's something that I'm dealing with better, I guess, as time's gone on. But really, really hard as a parent to know that your child is suffering and struggling, and I feel like I should have done more for her. So, but anyway, that is a great site. I'm going to link that below in the description box. If you're interested in checking it out, please do so. All right, so our next Holy Grail. Okay. Next Holy Grail product is going to be our lipsticks.
Can't get it out. Okay. Okay, I brought two. I love the Anastasia Beverly Hills matte lipsticks in the tube. This one is Dead Roses, and it is what I am wearing. I love it. And then I also love the ColourPop lippy sticks. I really like cream lipsticks now. I used to be obsessed with liquid lipsticks, but they really, really dry out my lips, and that was very popular when I was in high school. And that was just the trend to wear liquid lipsticks, and now everything's dewy instead of matte. So this is the ColourPop lippy sticks in
I don't
Brink.
have any of those.
And they're all matte, but they're just creamier, so they don't just dry down very harshly. They still feel very smooth, and they're really easy to reapply, unlike some liquid lipsticks. But yes, ColourPop lippy sticks are my absolute favorite lipsticks I've ever had, so go get some.
Sweet. Okay, and then my favorite lipsticks are the NYX liquid lipsticks. Let's see, what are these called? Soft Matte Lip Cream. I just have a couple of these. I have, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 of these. I just grabbed these two. But I just love these so much, and apparently I'm stuck back in your high school days.
Oh no, those are good. Those are good too.
But yeah, I just really like these and have used them for quite a while, and will continue to, because they're just amazing. I love these. All right, so the next question. Are you ready?
Ready.
How do you see your future with diabetes?
I don't really know. That's kind of a hard question to answer, because I hope that I'm just still taking really good care of myself. I mean, I will be, but I don't know if there's going to be other complications, if there's going to be another kind of illness that stems from it. It affects everything in your body. So like I have to get yearly eye checks because you have tiny, tiny, tiny little blood vessels that if your blood sugar is too high for a long time, it can severely damage them.
And she had really blurry vision.
Yes.
Really blurry vision when she was in the hospital getting diagnosed and kind of treated for her diabetes. I remember my husband and I went down there as soon as she got out of the hospital, and one of the first things we did was we raced to Target, and I got her reading glasses because she couldn't see. And I remember she just fell apart and was like, I can't see, Mom. So we went and dealt with that. But okay, sorry.
Yes. Well, that was because I was getting periodic blurry vision before I was diagnosed and had insulin and everything, because it does affect those tiny little blood vessels. But it went from my eyes kind of learning how to function with really high blood sugars and all that really syrupy, sticky shard of glass sugar in my blood. Yeah. And then to having insulin and having lower blood sugars, and so that was why it got really, really blurry. So I'm hoping that my eyes will still be great in the future and that I am still healthy, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. We will. I'm sure you'll be fantastic for the rest of your life till you're 112.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next Holy Grail makeup product, what would you like to talk about now, my dear? We're gonna do some eyeshadows.
Okay, we're both going to talk about a bunch because they're the best. Okay, so I will start with this Cara Beauty one.
Oh,
My
yeah.
mother got it for
Oh,
me.
yeah.
It is, I'm trying not to blind you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It is fantastic. I really, really love warm shades and a bunch of oranges and yellows and pinks and everything. Those are my favorite because I have blue eyes and I feel like they go the best with my eyes, and then they also just always match whatever I wear. And they're really easy for me to blend. I can't really blend the cooler tones and blues and greens. I don't know why. Maybe I just need better brushes, but yes. And then another favorite is the ColourPop Low Ray of Sunshine one. These are all yellow mattes. It's just fantastic. I love them so much. Yellow is one of my favorite colors, so I love sunflowers. I have a sunflower tattoo.
Yes, she does.
And so I had to get it. And then I think my absolute favorite palette ever is is it Pure or Pure?
Pure.
Pure X Raw Beauty Christie's palette. It's a double-sided one, so this is the one that I use the most. It's very warm shades, and it is fantastic. And then this side is the fun shades that are really, really bright and colorful. I don't usually use these, and when I do, I usually use them for eyeliner. Because they're a little intimidating, but I will have to try them soon.
Wonderful. I remember when she got that Pure palette, she was like,
I love
just
it.
like,
I'm wearing
oh,
it today,
yeah.
by the way.
Oh, gorgeous. Ooh. Okay, and then I just grabbed a couple. My absolute favorite neutral palette is the Milani Soft and Sultry, and the front of it always looks awful because I have fingerprints all over it. This is just a very cool tone neutral palette that has a perfect formula. I actually wore this to my wedding last summer, so it's always going to have a special place in my heart. But yeah, this is just one of my absolute favorite neutral palettes that I own. I think it is my absolute favorite. I mean, duh, that's what we're here for. Hello. And then my most favorite colorful palette is the Club Nebula by Kaleidos in collaboration with Angelica Nikavist. This is one of the most beautiful palettes I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just love it so much. And when I first got this, I used it like crazy. And I've said before that like I will use a different palette every day, so it's really kind of weird if I would, use it more than once. And I use it for like a week and a half straight, and then I just used it a few days ago for like 3 days straight. I love it. Looking back on your diabetes journey story, what would you have done differently?
I would have gone to the hospital a lot sooner.
Yes.
Because DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, is very preventable, and I was pretty close to a coma. So everyone was telling me, we're very thankful that you came in today because you would have been in a coma by the end of the week. It was bad, and I just felt so terrible constantly, and it was just horrendous. So I definitely would have gone when I really started to lose weight, because at first my symptoms were totally fine. I could deal with the needing to drink water constantly and needing to pee constantly. But then when it got to, I was having intense stomach issues and I couldn't really eat anything without wanting to throw up, and it was just bad. So about January is when I should have really I should have got something checked out in November, but I definitely wish I had gone much earlier.
Yeah, me too. And like I said earlier, that's been a huge source of guilt and like wanting to kick my own butt for not forcing her to go to the doctor.
Well, I don't hold anything against you. So.
Yeah, I know. So I hope you guys really enjoyed seeing our Holy Grail makeup products and also hearing about Sydney's diabetic story. I just have to say again how very proud I am of her. She has done such a wonderful job, not only taking care of herself, but educating herself. And, she just never ceases to amaze me with how responsible and adult-like and just incredible she is. I'm very fortunate that she's my daughter. I love her with all of my heart and was so pleased that she agreed to come on and do a video with me.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So if you have subscribed or you would like to subscribe, please do not forget to hit the notification bell. That way you're aware of all of my future uploads. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It means the world to both Sydney and I. And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Take care, be safe, be happy, and I will see you soon. Bye. Bye.